Hello, everybody. How the heck are you? It's Bobby. It's Tom. This is the Noise Brigade. Tom, how the hell are you?
I'm doing fine, man. What's going on?
Not too much. So we figured since we're getting close to Christmas, we would do a little reminiscence of back to our childhood and maybe not our childhood, and talk about some memorable Christmas gifts.
Yeah, obviously tis the season, right? So we kind of were texting earlier this week and kind of throwing down, trying to throw down an idea for a show because we're really prepared and we always have like the next 10 things lined out.
Yeah.
But we look at the calendar and say, hey, look, it's close to Christmas, and I had some really fond memories of different things that I've received or, given, particularly later on in life. And, man, I'd love to just kind of reminisce and talk about some of our favorite things that we got, wanted, whatever.
Yeah, man. And this was all your idea. I cannot take any credit for it.
So if
I
it's a bad episode, uh,
so it's
sorry.
bad episode. It's your fault. That's all it is. I've had all of the winners so far, and
Oh boy, here we
those.
go. No pressure.
Just kidding. So I actually wrote like I think double what you wrote.
Yeah, you just went on. I loved it because it was funny whenever we threw this down, and I sent you the initial kind of framework on the idea. Um, I was like, oh yeah, I'll share some notes with you. And like 45 minutes later, you sent me a page, single space, that Google Doc full of stuff, and I was like, my goodness, he's into this one.
Dude. And then you put your notes on there, and then I'm like, oh crap, how did I forget about this? And I go in to write like one thing, and I end up like I open the floodgates and
Yeah,
wrote like
yeah.
another page worth of crap. So, um, I know my parents will never listen to this, but I think it would make them happy to know like exactly how much of my Christmas, like how much of what they did for me for Christmas is like really has stuck with me to now. Like I'm an old fart now. Like,
It,
and to remember a lot of this stuff, like I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, the memory part I think was great. You and I have done several of these episodes and where we kind of reminisce and think back on things and really kind of share a story. Whether it's funny or not, or from a kind of a historical perspective, for better or worse. Um, and I really thought that, hey, like we've done different things talking about Halloween or different trips or places we've been maybe or just different things, right?
Right.
And so this is perfect. Christmas stuff. So let's start with you because you have a lot more than I do, but there's a reason why though too. Not a lot, not some of the stuff that you've listed here. I have a note on, but there's other reasons why I didn't put down some things too because there are times where I remember having the same thing. My memory is not as good as yours is on that. I have like mine is more pinpointed on certain things. But we'll get into that. Like, hey, there's some particular toy that we got. I don't remember when I got it, but I still cherish it just as fondly.
Yeah.
So
I'm just at this point, I'm just amazed that I remembered as much as I did with all the concussions and shots to the head and everything. Like, I can't
so
remember
maybe
what.
you've never maybe you actually never got any of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that I didn't get any of this and that this is all like dreams and just like, made up stuff. Like I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can remember what the hell I got for fifth, when I was 5 years old, I got for Christmas. Um, but yeah, man, let's jump in. Let's start with like early days. And I can remember this was like the one Christmas I remember from our house in Woodbury. That I lived until I was like five, I think. I remember getting, obviously every Christmas, a ton of Transformers, some really cool ones. Um, Not that particular year, but I remember getting like Fortress Maximus and like, I forget what the city was called. There was a city dude that I got, Power Master Optimus Prime, Ultra Magnus, like all kinds of cool ones. But I want to talk to you today about Mask. Do you remember Mask?
I do. I never had anything like what you're about to talk about, though. So
Okay.
this is your floor, man.
So Mask was one of those basically, 20-minute toy commercials that masqueraded as a cartoon, no pun intended. Mask stood for Mobile Armored Strike Command. Yeah, they beat Mortal Kombat to the punch. So Mask was basically cars and trucks and other kind of like vehicles. They didn't quite transform, but they had alternate forms. They didn't turn into robots, but they had these dudes and chicks in them that wore masks that got into their vehicles, and then their vehicles they could like change. Like there was a little green motorcycle that turned into a helicopter that I had like 8 of because they were like the easy present. So like every birthday or Christmas for like 8 years, I was guaranteed to get one of them from somebody. Uh, that and Blur, the Transformer Blur. For some reason, I ended up with like a stack of both of them. I could have had like army fights against. But anyway, I want to talk to you about Boulder Hill. So Boulder Hill was the good guys, the mask commandos or whatever the hell you would call them. That was their base. It was like a gas station that transformed into a battle station, and like it had this little mountain next to it and a boulder that would roll down to hit the bad guys. And I remember that same year I got Castle Grayskull.
Yes.
He
So
from
now I still have mine.
which I'm jealous of.
Yes.
Um,
I don't know if it's complete, but I still have it. It's at Dad's. One of these days, I'm gonna have to pull out the boxes and see what. I don't have any like the original boxes or anything, but
right,
the
but
the toy itself is still there.
yeah, it's still cool to have. So one of the other things that I got from Mask, and I got this, it must have been when I was 6 or 7, because I remember taking it to school with me, and it was a little stock car. And I'm not a NASCAR guy, but this was a cool toy. It was a stock car, and it would turn into a turret. So like the trunk and the hood would fold underneath, and it would lift the car up, and then so it would be like a turret when these guns would pop out. And it was just really cool. Well, I took it to school with me, and we were playing on the playground, and I decided that it would be a great idea to just rev this thing as fast as I could into some ice, like into an ice patch. And when it hit the ice patch, it broke, and
Oh,
it stood up, and you couldn't make it stay down in its stock car form. So that was like I was in love with that toy, and I had it for like maybe 2 weeks before I destroyed it.
that's as a child though, like that's crushing.
Oh,
You
dude,
know,
absolutely. Like I'm pretty sure I cried.
oh, dude, I would have. I mean,
Fairly
that's
certain.
that's akin to somebody being born maybe like 10 years prior and having an Evil Knievel stunt motorcycle
Oh yeah.
and having that sucker ready to go. Like, you know what? I'm going to jump this stream. And guess what? It lands in the stream and goes right down it and never see it again.
You know what's funny? My grandparents had one of those at their house. So I've
No
played with.
kidding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I played with one of those a lot.
Nice. Nice. They still sell them.
Do they?
They're like $70 or $80 a piece, but yeah, they still sell
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm out on that. I'm not paying $70 or $80. Although I'm sure the original one is probably selling for a shit ton more than that.
I don't even want to look it up because if
Yeah, I'm not going to because I don't want to kill myself.
yeah. No, the mask thing was cool. I remember the cartoon, like you said. I love the way you framed that too. Yeah, it really wasn't just a commercial. If you think about it.
Yeah.
Um, but how cool was like this the just the logo like artwork stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um, the semi with like the machine guns.
I had that. He had
Did
yeah,
you
he had a
really?
missile launcher in the back. Yeah, so this is a story that I'll tell my if my parents ever listen to this, they'll be mad at me for telling it. But so one of my neighbors, it was a girl I went to school with, Becky Hall. Her brother Tommy was a couple years older than us. And so at one point when he had grown out of all his toys, his parents gave me his mask toys and his Transformers.
Oh,
And so I got some awesome toys. I got the semi from Mask, and I got a bunch of Transformers. Well, we had a playroom, and the playroom was always a mess. And my parents always said, "Look, if you guys don't clean up the playroom, we're going to throw this stuff out." And so we didn't clean it up because we were little obstinate children. And my case that had all my Transformers in it was an unfortunate casualty of that. And I lost a ton of really cool Transformers that way.
Ah,
Yeah.
man.
So,
You made that comment too, about the Transformers and stuff. Obviously, you spoke too much more to Mass there, but um, this is one thing I really have a hard time. I I believe somewhere I still have a Transformers VHS somewhere along the way.
okay.
I, for whatever reason, I remember having a lot more than what I still have. I have, and then this is the names are unfortunately going to escape me. A couple of the pieces that were, I guess they were like the older, smaller action figures that transformed,
Okay.
fighter jet and ambulance. Um, the
Small
pro-
ones,
yeah, they're smaller. They're more like action figure sized.
GoBots.
Um, so there you go. So that's kind of where I was going. Was I was hoping you were going to call me out on that. Because what are the GoBots? They're the what version of the Transformers?
They're the Kmart version.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I was kind of trying to lead you in there on that.
Yeah, man. No, 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 dude. All right, so all right, we got to talk about this because I used to love GoBots too. GoBots were definitely they were the Bobo version.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. That's why, like, I for whatever reason I recall having a couple of transfer, obviously Optimus Prime and a couple of other ones, but
Right,
yes, I had more GoBots and I still have them. In fact, I have a couple in my living room right now.
dude. Listen. I love GoBots. The bad guy, Psykill or Psycho or whatever he was, it was a motorcycle. That dude was cool. And leader one was the leader of the good guys. He was an F-14 Tomcat.
Yep, that's
So
what I. Yep, yep.
so I had little tiny leader one, and then I had a big leader one. And then I had another guy. I can't remember what the heck they were, but I had quite a few of them. I had a Volkswagen Beetle that was called Bug Bite. Um, there was like this futuristic looking car that had like cones on the front, and it had like these big like wings on the back, or tail wings on the back. But no, man, the only so GoBots to me were cool, even though they were the Bobo Transformers. Where they went off the rails was there was a spinoff called Rock Lords. Do you
I
remember
do
Rock
not.
Lords?
No, I don't.
So
I do
Rock
not
Lords,
remember that.
it's pretty much in the name, man. They were robots that turned into rocks.
That wow.
So you want to talk about the laziest, like the laziest
Oof.
design for a toy ever. And these things, I never had them. I never wanted them because if I wanted to play with a
Well, I
rock,
mean,
I
you
would
could
just
just
go outside. Like,
play with rock. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
I would play with
Yeah,
a
that.
rock. And then I would take my Transformers. And if I really wanted to pretend this rock turned into a robot, I would take a Transformer and just be like, oh, hey, look, you know, but you look like a car. Nope, I was totally that rock 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, the and I've mentioned these guys before on another episode. But in the where the couple of GoBots that I have this old box. It's a bit big, a little bit bigger than a shoebox, of old toys that I'd gotten out of a box in the garage, and the Tommy and Katie play with it occasionally. But it's basically just mishmash of stuff. So a couple GoBots are in there, but I have a lot of the Centurions pieces in there.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah, and again, I know we're kind of taking a sidebar here because I have no recollection of ever receiving anything at Christmas, although I'm sure I did.
Right.
But it's funny to see my kids put it all back together and play with it, not knowing at all what it is.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so because and that's the funny thing. It's this box that I have is just random plastic pieces. There's no characters outside of the GoBots themselves. Like I have nothing. I don't know what it is. It's just random mishmash of stuff. But I've looked up a couple of things at times. I'm like, man, I really wish I had that complete because well, that's worth a lot of money.
Dude, honestly, I'll tell you what. I really wish that I wish that I had gotten Centurions because I freaking loved them. And this kid that lived behind me, or lived behind my mom in Woodbury, he had all three of the Centurions. And I used to love playing with those things. They were so cool. Um, I mean, we could go on and on about 80s toys because
Yeah,
the 80s had the coolest action figure type toys, you
they
know,
did,
and
hands
the
down.
coolest lines, the real Ghostbusters, um, those, what the hell were those ones? Um, there was the ones that had like the sky, they all had like zip lines and stuff. Um, I'll have to look it up, but there's like we're gonna have to do a show on 80s toys.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe that'll be how we break into
Silverhawks,
2022 with something like that.
yeah, but there was like Silverhawks and
Yes, I remember that.
oh, what was that? What was the one?
I've
It
got
was.
one, I think, somewhere.
Do you really?
Yeah, it was like, and if I recall correctly, it is made out of like some of the cheapest plastic known to man.
Yes, 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 100%. Um, there was the there was the ghost ones that were like the holograms. Do you remember them? It was like a
Mm,
hologram, and you had this, and you would snap it into like a little casing. Obviously, the Secret Wars toys, um, where
yeah,
all of all this the Marvel superheroes and stuff. Um, I don't know. There was just so many cool toys
yeah.
from
We'll
the.
we'll have to do that before we turn this into that.
Right, right, right. So let's have you shoot one off here.
All right, so I kind of really I went some kind of specific things, and like I said before, mainly because there's certain things that we both kind of that you listed in your that you're going to talk about that we both had at one time or another. So I felt it was one, the memory. I couldn't recall when I got said thing, and it may have not been for Christmas, or if I did, I don't remember. So I'm going to go with my absolute all-time favorite, and I think this might be a good segue into your next lines. Um, Always will stick in my head was 1991 Christmas, and because I remember getting the Super Nintendo, right? It come out, I think, at the end of '90,
Yeah, I think.
and
Yeah,
I was in the deal where I was like, man, I really really want one of these things. Didn't think I was going to get it. Asking Santa pretty hard for this thing, and I got one, and I was just like thrilled to death. It's like, man, a Super Mario World, and man, I'm like, I'm ready to go, right? And the last gift I opened, though, you know, and I remember specifically my mom handing it to me, and the tag was in her writing, and I see this box, and I'm thinking to myself, "That looks like a Nintendo cartridge." Because I'm at the age there where you're trying to really starting to figure out like what's what.
right.
Um, and I open it up, and it's Tecmo Super Bowl, but for the NES.
Nice.
And I'm like, and I was kind of, it was weird. It was weird. And I distinctly recall too, because I remember having this weird feeling of, well, I just got this new system, but I got this game from my old system. When am I ever going to play it? Like I'm just going to play Super Nintendo nonstop.
Right.
And boy, was that not the case. I'm almost certain that first year that I played that game more than I ever even touched the Super Nintendo. Um, because I was so fascinated at the time, and I still am now, with statistics and the fact that that game kept a full season's worth. It had injuries, you name it. You and I have talked this game several times before. I I was like, this is it, and so really thinking back on it, man, yeah, how cool was it to get a Super Nintendo and then open that up and like not think much of it at the time, really. But then as it wasn't maybe more than a month later, man, my goodness, that's all I played.
Right. Well,
And to this day I still play it, and I still have it. I still have that
yeah.
original copy. It's down in my den. I still have it. That's one of those few things that you might as well just bury me with it because that ain't going nowhere.
Well, that's like, so I got Tecmo Super Bowl for my birthday. Same with Mario 3. Like those two games, the reason that I'm not mentioning them on here is because I got them for my birthday. But same, dude. I played the hell out of Tecmo Super Bowl, and like one of the cool things for me is because of the stat tracking. Like even before achievements were a thing, I would set like goals for myself. Like, all right, I want quarterback Eagles to score every single offensive touchdown for me this year, or I want every single running touchdown, and then I'll pass the ball too. But I want, or I want to get 2,000 yards rushing with quarterback Eagles, or, I want to make the sacks reset with Reggie White, and then I want to make them reset with Jerome Brown, like that kind of stuff where,
Right.
there's no real achievements, but it just keeps you coming back and keeps you coming back and playing because it was one season. And then once you finish that one season, you had to reset and it erased all of your progress, all of your stats, everything. So, that was one though that you're absolutely right that it has infinite replay value, and definitely an awesome gift.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, and the fact that to this day that people there's like a whole community that still mods it and ups the rosters on it, and they still every year they mod it and sell the card itself is amazing to me. I love it. But yeah, no, that's always top. So what about you, man? I know your next. I hope I'm not kind of in out of place here, but your next notes were video game related. I thought that might be a good segue.
Yeah, man. So I'm gonna run through and I'm gonna kind of ramble a little bit and feel free to interrupt me. But I'm gonna kind of jump through my game systems because after I got the Genesis, that was kind of it for my home consoles. But so got the NES, huge milestone Christmas there. I got the one with the power pad. So I had the triple cart with Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet. Um, Not long after Christmas. So part of the reason why I ended up with an NES is number one, I wanted one, and it was like what everybody was getting that year, and I kept on playing it at the Hall's house, so who I mentioned earlier. I would go down there, and anytime they would have a barbecue or whatever, because they always had the neighborhood parties, I would be inside trying to play their Nintendo. So I guess my parents were finally like, look, all right, we gotta get them to stop going in their house and playing their Nintendo. So they got me one, and my dad took me to, oh, was it Bradley's or was it Clover in Paulsboro over near oh, I can't remember the name of the ice cream place, and that's gonna really bug me. Um, but we went over to this Bradley's and got ice hockey, like the
Ooh,
original ice hockey, not Blades of Steel, Nintendo's ice hockey.
yes, yes.
Um, Played the crap out of that, and he used to whoop my ass in it. Um, but so that, and then like a year or two later, I got a Game Boy. Um, and then a couple years after that was the Genesis, and the Genesis was the Sonic pack. And I got Mike Ditka Power Football for that, which was the worst football game I've ever played. Well, no, not the worst, because NFL football for the NES was the worst football game I've ever played.
Yeah,
But
the Mike Ditka one, I'll hit you on that one. Yeah, because I actually had the PC version, which was called Mike Ditka Ultimate Football.
okay,
I'm thinking that they thought that the word ultimate would make it even better on the computer, but certainly did not.
yeah, I was gonna
Um,
say I'm assuming that's not true.
I have nothing. You know what? I found at one time, I found the complete box, like with the diskette and everything, that I still had. Why, I don't know. But I do still have, for some reason, there's in the PC version. I wasn't sure that I didn't think Power Football was the same on the Genesis because this would make no sense. But the PC one, for whatever reason, you had to like have this wheel that would unlock, the access to the game. It's called a code wheel, and you just had to like set it on a certain thing. And yeah, I still have that somewhere.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't part of the Genesis version. That was a little too advanced for the Genesis version. um,
Yeah.
but no, I mean I remember getting a Game Gear, and then like some odds and ends as far as games that stick out to me. I remember getting Dragon Warrior with my Nintendo Power uh, subscription, Battletoads for NES, Tecmo Bowl for the Game Boy. Which Tecmo Bowl for the Game Boy, I remember because there was a code to play as they on the NES, they were the invisible team, where like you literally could not see them, but
Mm-hmm.
everybody was like super powered. Well, on the Game Boy, you could see them. They were just kind of like
Ah.
ghosts, but you could still see them. And they were super, like every player on the team was, it was like the ultimate cheat code. Like you could not lose playing with them. Um, I remember getting, for while we're on the Game Boy, I remember getting Super Mario Land 2, the six golden coins, which is the game that caused me to break my Game Boy. Um, because I wanted to play it so bad, and I was grounded for from playing my Game Boy. I was grounded for playing any games, um, because I had gotten a C on my report card, and so I was grounded from playing any video games. And I got that game for Christmas, and I'm like, I gotta play this game. And so I was sneak playing it in my room, and I had a dresser drawer pulled out of my dresser, like just hovering over so that I could quick hide it. And the dresser drawer fell out of my dresser and landed on the screen, and it broke the dial on the side where you could change the tint, and the darkness, and so it would just do whatever it wanted, like at whatever time. So that sucked. Remember getting Mario Brothers 2 for the NES, Sonic and Knuckles for the Genesis. um that was kind of it as far as games that really stick out to me. But I also, the only other real thing I got besides the NES, the Genesis, and the Game Gear as far as gaming systems, we got a PC, and I don't remember what grade I was in. I want to say seventh or eighth grade, but I just had a feeling, and I swear to God, I swear up and down, I swear on a Bible, I swear on whatever you want me to swear on. I did not snoop around and find anything about us getting a computer. I just really had a good feeling that we were getting one for Christmas this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I borrowed NBA Live 95 from Mike Nicotra. And my mom asked me why he dropped off, what he dropped off to me. And I said, oh, he dropped off a game. And she said, oh, what game did he drop off? And I didn't want to lie to her. And I said, NBA Live 95 for the computer. Why did he drop off a computer game to you? Because I just have a feeling we're getting a computer for Christmas. What do you mean you have a feeling you're getting a computer? And she swore up and down that I had been like looking through our stuff. I swear to God, Mom, if you ever hear this, I did not search for anything. I did not snoop. I never looked for any of our Christmas presents. I just really had a good feeling that year. And I was right.
That's pretty
So,
funny.
yeah. Like, and dude, I was in so much trouble for that. I was in more trouble for that than I've been in a long time. Like, because they thought I was snooping for Christmas presents. I think he dropped off, like, he either dropped off NBA Jam to me, or triple play or not triple play baseball, World Series baseball for the Genesis. But that was the other thing he dropped off to me. So what do you got next, man?
Well, I'm gonna shift a little bit because the video game stuff. I mean, I don't really recall a ton on, and I think because it was more a lot like you had mentioned earlier. I think more of that was birthday related, or I just don't really have a strong memory of anything at Christmas other than what I mentioned with Super Nintendo and Tecmo Super Bowl. But a couple of years later, for me, '93. Yeah, and this is weird. I know I have an odd thing here with a couple of years on it. And that's exactly when I remember it. But I had gotten a New York Central Lionel train set, and I really wanted one because I thought it was at the time it was really cool to like get it set up and have this really cool like elaborate deal. But I get this really nice one. It was a 27 gauge. It had a train horn and it, smoked liquid smoke. And in my house in New Jersey, I remember having a nice little setup in the basement. As soon as you walk down the stairs, it was to the right. And my dad and I had put some pretty, stuff together. But it's pretty basic, but there was, it was still fun. And the cool thing, though, about it was I got it back just recently. Dad had kept it in storage. I think it was the entire time. He may have pulled it out once and put it around his Christmas tree. Was sometime within the last 15 years, but I'm pretty certain it's just been in storage since. And it worked well. And I actually had put it around our Christmas tree um, until I accidentally, we were putting ornaments on the tree and I nudged the engine over and it kind of, fell to the side.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, and I didn't kick it or anything. It just like basically derailed it. Like it just went, basically I hit it with my toes and it just went over and doesn't work anymore. So I'm assuming there's like, because of sitting so long, I guess the wiring inside dry rotted. That's the only thing I can figure because
Right.
I'm gonna take it apart at some point and I'll fix it. But and I could be wrong. There could be something else wrong with it. But the crazy thing was though, Dad kept everything complete. So box, everything, had all the paperwork in it, had the paperwork in it from when he signed for the 1 year's registration on the thing. And I found that. And the cool thing was it showed when he bought it and where he bought it because he filled it out. So he bought it in December of 93 at McGuire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool because it was like showed date purchase, 12/14/1993. And then it showed, place to purchase and it showed a couple of other things. And it was really cool. Like he, just had everything in there. Um, and I thought it was the neatest thing to be able for, we'd actually pulled it out and we've got one of those like Thomas the Train tables. We had taken all that stuff off of it and I just set up our train, my train on it just to see if it would work. And sure enough, it did. It worked straight out of the box. It was like, holy crap. Like this thing's been, now we're talking, this thing's 30 years old now, just about. And, of course I put it around my tree and, putting ornamenting them up and not like it, it's not like I kicked it,
Right.
just knocked it off the tracks and yeah, it doesn't work. But
It
yeah,
wasn't
no,
you weren't treating it like a puppy.
no, 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 no. It was just, it just, very little like, think, and then what?
That sucks, man.
Yeah, but it is what it is. I just thought it's really cool. But yeah, everything's in great shape. Nothing's broken on it. Um, it's completely like there, so it's really cool. But I remember really wanting one so bad, and I think because it was at a time where I was kind of fascinated by like the miniature stuff. So like, you and I grew up with like the micro machines and all that sort of thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was a little older at that point and yeah, it was like, oh, I have to really like detail. And I remember going to see, I can't remember where it was, but they had this really elaborate, cool train set up and all this, cool stuff. And I'd subsequently this summer, when Katie had performed with her violin group in Branson, there's a toy museum there, and which it is what it is. It's one of those, it's if you're ever in that part of the country, it's worth checking out, but not anything I'd necessarily write raving reviews of. But the cool thing is they have this like secondary building that has this like insane train set up in the building, and Tommy fell in love with it. And I told him, I said, "Hey, I've got one of these. It's at Pop-Pop's house." And he said, "Papa has this?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "It was mine." I said, "We'll get it one day." So he kept talking about it. He said, "We'll get the train, get the train, get the train." And I was like, "I'm going to talk to Papa about it and we'll get it." And I asked Dad, I said, "Hey, where is this thing at?" He's like, "Yeah, it's in my shed. It's on the shelf. Go get it." So yeah.
I could
And then
picture your dad saying that.
yeah, he actually gave me the key. He's like, "Yeah, it's over there on the right. It's middle shelf. It's on the top." He knew exactly where it was at. And of course I broke it. Um, but no, it is that's cool. A fond memory of that. And I'm glad I have it back. And I'm hoping I can get it. That'll be my plan for next Christmas. So, but all right, man. What about you? Let's dive into maybe some. I know maybe you probably have a couple more video game things, but what about something for you, like maybe non-video game related?
Yeah, so like, all right, so the same year I got my Game Boy, I got so, and I'm going to run down a couple things here. So remember that was the year that I got my hockey net and my goalie pads. So that was fun.
Nice.
That gave me, an outlet. Well, it gave my dad an outlet to shoot, pucks and balls at me, and you know, I would play goalie when we would play hockey in the neighborhood, and then I would put Richie in the goalie pads and shoot pucks and balls at him. So that was fun too. But I also that year I got, and we're running through my audio equipment stuff that I got. So that year I got my first boombox, and so what was cool about it though was it had a little black and white TV on it. So
Oh, I remember those.
yeah, so it had this little
Sweet.
black and white TV. It had an equalizer on it. It had the dual cassette decks, so you could dub tapes. Um, but what was really fun was you could actually record off of the TV. So back when that was out, there was a little show on TV called In Living Color,
Mm.
which, for those of you who don't know, that's where like Jim Carrey and David Allen Greer and a bunch of other comedians got their start. Jennifer Lopez was a dancer on that show. Um, and there was this one segment called The Dozens where they would just make your mama jokes. And so I would go on, and whenever there would be a Dozens episode, I would record it. And so I would have these just like I had probably an hour at one point of just your mama jokes on tape. And so I would take them on the school bus and play them. And, obviously they got me in a little bit of trouble. Um, but yeah, so I had that. I got a couple years later, my Sony Walkman, which, that was just ubiquitous for the time. Um, and it was obviously before Discman or Discmen became like super popular. But the next year, I got my modular stereo, which was like a receiver, a 5 disc CD changer, and then some speakers, some big speakers. So it kind of took the place of the little boom box that I used to have, and it was awesome. But that's those were some cool electronic gifts that I got that weren't video game related.
Yeah, no, I remember having my Walkman too, and I don't remember again when I got it, whatever, but dude, I wore that thing out. And um well, with really bad music too, because that's just what
Oh
it
yeah.
was. It was before I started listening to anything that was worth a darn.
Well,
But
mine
yeah,
was Q102 and Y100, and then MMR and WYSP.
I actually had one, and I was, oh gosh, um it was in the like MC Hammer Vanilla Ice era.
Oh,
Yeah. So
all right. So yeah, yours was a little bit worse than mine.
yeah. So anyway, wore those tapes out though, and I'll admit it. I mean, that's what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what was around to listen to.
Hey,
Um,
listen, we both admitted to liking Jimmy Ray, so
it's a
we have
fair
no
point.
credibility.
That's a fair point. But now you had made a mention of being able to dub um, on your boombox, and I remember again, not a Christmas thing necessarily, but that was how back in the day, kids, you would be able to get the songs that you wanted off the radio.
Yes.
Um, I mean, yeah, and I still have some, and there were some that I went back through and I used for recordings for the stuff that was well prior to podcasting. I have some stuff on tape that um, okay, so this is funny. Again, we'll sidebar off the Christmas stuff here, but so I've made mention of on this before of how I did a wrestling themed podcast back in like 2008.
Yeah.
So, and I've also made mention of how I did mix CDs whenever that really wasn't a thing. Um, back I started doing that in 2000, but prior to that, I would do what you talked about. I would dub off the radio because that's how you did it. And I would go back through, and I would, especially in the mid '90s, would take and it's like I'm gonna have my own award show, and I would record myself thinking, hey, this is my favorite song, and this is my of these three. I have tapes of that somewhere.
Really?
So like I have this like stuff that's like well prior to podcasting, but here's the thing, that stuff is what spawned podcasting.
Yeah. Oh no,
You know,
absolutely.
recording yourself on a Walkman or whatever, and fast forward 25, 30 years, what are we doing? You know, it's funny.
Right.
So yeah, I've one of these days, I'm sure the tapes are out in my garage, but I'm gonna have to like pull that through. And if there's anything worth a darn, I'll be willing to make fun of myself at the age of 13 or whatever I was.
We know that reminds me too. Now that I think about it, I actually in 2000, one of the Christmas gifts I got was a CD burner so that I could make my own CDs.
Yeah, and that see, you know, and I about the same time that I remember my parents having one, and yeah, use a tar out of that, dude.
Oh, heck yeah.
Such a great thing. It's amazing that yeah, how cool that was back then, and now it's like, just make a playlist.
Right.
it's,
Right.
it's
Like
crazy.
like
It's lazy.
you know, not only did like I just recently bought a new computer, well, a refurbished computer. It doesn't even have a drive on it, and my
Yeah.
car doesn't have a CD drive in it. So like CDs have become, they went from being like this, oh, this is the future, man. This is, I mean, unless you count mini discs. Uh that was a joke. But
Beta,
yeah,
Betamax.
Betamax, HD DVD. Uh yeah. So, but like it went from being the future to not being relevant how quickly, you know.
Right.
I feel like that was such a quick burnout for that, because I remember in music class in the 90s, the teacher being like, yeah, this is a compact disc, this is the best way we have to store media, be it data or music, and they last forever. Well, not forever, but they last for like years and years and years before there's
They
any
last
kind of
until you scratch the crap out of it.
right. Exactly. And he was like, this is the future, it's not going to get much better than this. And well, he was wrong. So that's the lesson, kids. Don't pay attention in high school. Your teachers don't know what they're talking about. Oh, wait. Unless it's
Yeah.
Tom or Danielle trying to teach you something, then
Yeah.
listen.
Well, you know,
But
well.
if it's Ryan Barney, you tell that lying bastard to go to hell.
Oh man. Now I dig the Walkman reference because it really is floods memories. That's a great Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Um, the the ones I'm gonna get into here, as far as remembering things, then and you'll have to just kind of run through some much better stuff because this is boring as all get out. But this is gonna sound odd. Um, so, like many in the mid '90s, I was huge into Pacific Sunwear, uh, but never really got a lot of stuff from it at the time, at least that I recall. But every once in a while, I'd end up with like an O'Neill or a Billabong or shirt, or like they had the bullhead jeans, um, and stuff like that. But I do recall distinctly Christmas '96 that I would get this Island Force flannel, which I'm looking at. I'm like, I really didn't realize what it was at the time. I had to think about it, and but it's just like this gold and blue flannel shirts, really thick. And the insane thing is, I still have it and I still wear it to this day. This is 25 years ago. So it speaks to the quality of clothing. I think the only thing is that I lost a button somewhere along the way.
No
But I had this
kidding.
flannel shirt. It still have it. It still fits. Because it was, here's the thing, think about that error. Like everything was much bigger.
Right.
Because it's meant for that. Like everyone wanted the huge like
Baggy.
stove, yeah, baggy pants, stovepipe jeans, whatever. The shirts were the kind of not that they were that oversized, but like this thing fits me like I would buy a normal shirt now. I can't imagine how big it was on me back then.
Yeah, because you were skinny. You were a
Yeah,
skinny dude.
I was not big, so but it's still, and I still wear it. That's one of my favorite go-tos. So I recall that fondly on the sense of um, it was something I was really into, really wanted it, or at least something from that store. And it was funny too. Think about it now. I know they've rebranded years ago into PacSun or whatever. I don't know that you could pay me enough to just walk in to be, I guess because like the age thing, it's weird. Like I would do it for my own kids. I still love some of the brands, but I don't know that the styles are the same as that I loved. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
Like I don't know that I would be like that about certain things that I was, because I don't know what it's like now. Maybe
right.
this is my own, maybe that's my own ignorance, but you know I just think it's funny. Like I still have it and it's hanging in my closet, and I and I can't say it looks brand new, but there's no holes in it. There's no, it looks pretty good for 25 years old, and then I've beat it to death. So
Dude, that's funny. I think the only thing I still have from high school that fits is my varsity jacket.
oh, nice,
I think
nice.
that's the only thing I still have that fits. Because, like, I have a starter, or I had a starter jacket. I don't think I have it anymore. Um, that me and my dad got matching starter jackets one Christmas from our grandparents. And, that doesn't hit, mine doesn't fit me anymore, but his fits me. So, we went up to the Poconos. I wore that. But aside from, yeah, man, I don't think there's one piece of clothing that I have. Well, I don't think I have any more pieces of clothing from high school either, though.
I
Um,
still have some gym shirts. Only in the
really?
fact that, yeah, only, and here's the thing, only on the fact that, again, what did we all, everything was baggy, right?
Yeah.
So I had ordered shirts that were like 3 or 4 sizes too big, and because they let us do it. Now the shorts thing was another story.
Yeah, dude, the shorts were so small.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. Like I remember like getting the extra large, and there was no way that it was ridiculous. Yeah, not right, not right at all.
Stuff dangling out of the pant legs.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
But the
I'm not
shirts, I still have a few, and mainly because I ordered so many sizes up, and I don't wear them anymore. I've stored them all, but yeah, I still have them.
no kidding.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
Collector's item, because that's what
Yeah.
everyone wants these days. That's
Oh
what our
yeah.
kids want. So, all right, man. Let's. So that ends my boring little tirade on clothes. What do you got for some fun stuff?
All right, so I'm gonna bounce through like some odds and ends and stuff. So one of the things that I got that was really cool at the time, and even if I still had it now, I think it would be cool. Do you remember the Typhoon radio control hovercraft?
Okay. I remember the commercial. I never had one.
Okay, so I had one. I had one, and honestly, if I'm being real honest with you, I kind of thought by now we'd have more hover based technology.
Dude,
Like
you're not. I'm with you. You're not the only one.
I thought that hovercrafts were going to take over. I wish I still had it because it was really cool. Um, let's go rod hockey. I had a rod hockey table. That thing was super cool. Somehow or another, I feel like the rods ended up getting bent because we made, me and my dad would just beat the hell out of it, and eventually the rods got bent, so that I had to go. Had an electric football table, which I think we talked about before.
Yes, nice.
That was kind of frustrating and ended up just being an earthquake machine for like GI Joes and Transformers and stuff. Um, you know, so I used to get, and this was super cool. And I wish I would have, you know, I wish I still had my comic book collection. I got rid of them for a reason that I'm not happy about, but that's another story for another day. Um, but I used to get random boxes of comics or boxes of random comics rather. And I read all kinds of cool stuff. Like one of them had like Carnage's second appearance. Or no, it was the first appearance of Cletus Cassidy. And it was like a cameo appearance of the Carnage symbiote like in the background, but you didn't actually get to really see it. Um, and some other cool stuff. Some X-Men comics that were apparently worth a lot of money until I ripped the back cover off because I was afraid of the ad that was on the back. I think it was like a ad or something, and it freaked me out. So I ripped the covers off. And so yeah, they weren't worth anything after that. Remember getting do you remember a pogo? Do you remember pogo balls?
Oh yeah, I do. Okay, so that was the one. Was that the thing that looked like Saturn?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. I thought so.
So I remember getting a pogo ball. My mom gave me a Nolan Ryan signed baseball, which I still have. Um, that was cool. I got a Mario pillow buddy, which was like a pillow, but it had Mario's face on it and like some hands and feet and stuff. Um,
So it's kind of like a oh, what was those called?
Pillow pet.
Those, yeah, no, well, that or the WWF versions,
Oh yeah,
the the
the
brawling buddies, Russell
brawler,
buddies.
yeah, whatever the hell they were.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got this awesome scooter one year that was like it was almost like a BMX scooter where it was lime green, but it had these white wheels. They were inflatable wheels, and it had like a white deck on it. That thing was cool. Various jerseys. So like I got an Eric Lindros jersey one year, which was the coolest thing ever until he left the Flyers, and then I became a vindictive little shit and I ripped the name and numbers off the back like an idiot, which I wish I never would have done. Got a Connor Barwin jersey one year. That was obviously sooner, or more recent. Along with the more recent ones, I got like a limited edition, like anniversary Optimus Prime that's like a foot and a half tall, and it's like still made out of metal and stuff. Um, let's see what else. What else? So, all right, GI Joe. So I got this really awesome. It was called the X-19 Phantom Stealth Fighter, and it was this giant like stealth. It almost looked like it was based off the SR-71, but like more streamlined.
Hmm.
And it came with a pilot named Ghost Rider, and it had these little like cruise missile things that had their own wings on them and stuff. And so I looked it up for fun on eBay, and like out of the package, it's like 250 complete. And if you want to get it brand new in the package, $2,500.
Oh, good lord!
Yes,
Wow.
yes,
I just looked it up. That thing's cool. I remember seeing that, but I never had it. But that's
yeah.
man, that's awesome.
That one was from my grandparents. That one came from their house. Um, so another thing that I had too that was really cool is I remember 2 different years, or maybe it might have been within the same year, but I think the one was from the PBA party was Photon, which Danielle can tell you about the PBA parties. They were fun. Um, but basically, all the cops kids would go to like a fire hall, and Santa was there, and you would go up and sit on Santa's lap, tell him what you wanted, and then you'd get a gift. And got some really cool stuff from them. And the one year though, I got Photon, and Photon was like laser tag, but you got this little gun, you got a set of guns, and you got a set of targets. And the targets were these little black, like hexagonal things that you would attach to your shirt or your belt or whatever, and you'd have to shoot the target. Well, I also got laser tag, and I'm fairly certain that both of these toy sets had cartoons too. So back to the awesome 80s cartoons. Um, so laser tag though was like more. So if the GoBots were the Bobo laser tag, or were the Bobo Transformers, Photon was Bobo laser tag. And
Right.
then laser tag was the real deal. So the laser tag guns were these sleek, futuristic looking black guns with a red line that went around them. And it came with a vest, and you put your little target on the vest and it stuck to it with Velcro. And then you would shoot at that. And they had like, it was a like a laser tag rifle. So it was this big, long white gun, and it had the same futuristic thing, and it had like a red line on it. It was really cool.
Yeah,
But
those things look like Knight Rider kit, basically.
yeah, 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 yeah. And so unfortunately for me, I didn't have people to really play them with. So what I would do is I would just strap the vest to like one of the couch cushions, and I would build like a bunker, and I would pop up over the bunker and shoot at the targets and then drop back down, and like just be stupid in the living room with them or whatever. But they were really cool, man. I kind of wish I still had them. I didn't look them up, but I'm sure that they're worth something.
So let's see. I had okay. So I had the original laser tag, like the like you said, the black gun with the red line, and it was like a silver sensor
Yeah.
with like oh what's that movie, Space Odyssey? Hal, the
Yes.
red looked just like that.
Yeah.
Um, so right now, and I don't know, I'm assuming this is legitimate. Let's see, Starlight laser tag, 1986 gun and sensor. So yeah, black gun, red line. I don't know. The condition looks okay. I mean, it's kind of, what you'd expect for something as old as it is, and it's less than $20. Um,
Oh.
but yeah, no, these things don't go for a whole lot.
Huh.
There's another set that's a little newer game kit, not newer, but better quality.
Yeah.
Maybe it has a little more with it. That's in a box. That's $50. So yeah, that's what I had. I had mine as a hand me down, and I recall my uncle, who was older than me, obviously, but not by too much. It was his, but he. I remember getting it to me at some point. Just remember having the gun and like the little sensor thing. Um, but there was all sorts of stuff. There was like a vest. There was the belt that you
Oh, there was
had
a
alluded
helmet.
to. Yeah, the helmet. Yeah, there's all sorts of cool stuff with it. But that gun and the rifle looked cool, man. They're just such a sleek thing. Now I don't remember the photon thing at all. I'm gonna be honest with you there. I had to look that up. I That doesn't look familiar to me. Um, I just don't have any recollection of that whatsoever.
Yeah, I remember having that one too, and I'm fairly certain it came from the PBA party.
That's and here's the crazy thing. So that was, I remember playing with that when I was late '80s into the early '90s maybe. Um, and fast forward, the funny thing was, laser tag is one of those interesting things that is still around in different forms. In fact, Tommy and I played around a laser tag this summer, um, in actually in Branson.
Nice.
But do you recall the laser tag joint in Deptford, in the mini mall there by where it was by a grocery store. It's called Laser Storm.
Laser storm.
Does that
No,
ring
I
a bell to
don't.
you?
No.
So Laser Storm, again, sidebar in here, but had basically, it was typical that error. You could go and pay some dollars and play laser tag, and I'm sure you could do like the host a party type thing, whatever. But Brooks and I would just go there just to whatever, have fun, and they would give you a printout and of your activity. And the funny thing was, and this should be no surprise to you, would have these records posted of things, and he was like like a pinball, so he would just run around, and I found a camping spot, and they had to make a rule to where you couldn't camp because I'd broken the record for like shooting the sensor, like that was because you had like team sensors in the ceiling,
Hmm.
and I found a spot where I couldn't get hit, and like because he would lay in a certain spot and like point the gun behind you, and like I just had figured it out perfectly, and where he was running around like killing, and like we would have these matches where like it was just these ridiculous scores, so the other team wasn't doing anything, and so like we had the highest scores by far, and then they had to change the rule because we figured out basically how to break the system. So
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. But the funny thing is, I fast forward all these years, and I play a game of that with Tommy, and of course, he's 7 years old. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna let him win, and he beats me legitimately
That's fantastic.
because he's so fast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, no, I remember the one at the Echelon Mall. I can't remember what it was called, but it was laser tag in an arcade. Um, and the name is never going to come to me, but I remember going there, but I never knew about the one in Deptford. I don't think.
Yeah, it was oh gosh, it was like going down toward Cooper Street, and I can't remember the name of that road. Um, it escapes me. But it was just past the where the big old water tower is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was in a mini mall, and there was a grocery store by it. I just can't remember. It's, like I said, you're a lot sharper than that than I am. I have more specific things that I recall, but yeah, that's why I love the laser tag mention, because man, I remember having that. Don't remember a lick about Photon, but yeah, that that's just fun about doing this. You just kind of spark memories, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
But on the Christmas thing, I'm gonna go to like something probably a little more sentimental, and mainly because I we have it set on our mantle right now. But this is more of a giving thing, and I was gonna say that Danielle here did most of the work, but Danielle's grandfather, who worked for the Phillies, volunteered for many years, loved collecting nutcrackers, and so whenever the Phillies won the World Series, she hand painted personally 2008 like World Series championship with, painted the Phillies jersey and everything, um, and give it to him, and they just loved it, and obviously displayed it at Christmas time. And unfortunately, he's passed earlier this year, but we have it back, and because her mom sent it to us, and it it's in its rightful place now. It's on our mantle, and I just loved it because there was a lot of love that went into that one. You know,
Yeah.
um, it just one of those things that I I love seeing my kids make stuff for my dad and Danielle's mom, and other people, and just the love and the little things that go into it. And it's funny because I know you don't really think much of it at the time, but as you do things like we did that, or she did most of it, most of all the work on the Nutcracker, and really thinking about that all those years ago, because 2008 was not yesterday.
No.
um
It's not.
you know and really thinking about different things like that, again, more sentimental, but I just really made me fond memory of a gift. And what's one of those things like that really kind of, I guess, perspectively puts the season, hey, this is what it's all about,
Right.
so
No,
but
that's cool, man.
yeah, and I'll kind of stay in the same vein, because I'm gonna let you finish up. We'll finish up with some fun stuff here, because I think
Yeah.
you had another note here that was fun. But I'll, on this in the same vein here, this is the latest note I'll have, is that last year, we actually took some wood from my great grandmother's house, which is actually, was, I should say, right next to where my dad lives. He has since knocked it down because it was needing to be torn down. But we took wood from that, and I cut it up and put it together. And Danielle took and put in, using basically string art, a bunch of nails, and
Yeah.
and put the family last name on the sign, and we gave it as a Christmas present back to dad. So I just thought it was cool that, like, we have this wood that's 100 years old plus, and able to repurpose it into a project. But again, like I said, more of a sentimental thing, not a haha funny type deal. But I think these are the little things that like really make me appreciative of the holidays and the seasons. Just like you really, kind of putting some thought into it, um because I'm sure like you're at the same point now, where look, we're at an age where, what do you get your parents,
Right.
it's impossible, because it's like, they have everything they need. They you get them anything. um it's it takes a lot of thought, a lot of
Yeah.
times, or it's something that is, it is like, it's a repetitive thing. Like I this year, and I won't, well, he'll never listen to this. I, dad was a big fan of English leather. So I went on eBay and found a, soap on the rope that was from like, I don't know when, 20 years ago. But I found it on eBay. It was in the box, and I bought it. And I'm like, but that's something like my mom and I perpetually gave to him year after year. So like that's kind of where you're at now. It's like you find the same things that your mom or your dad likes. You end up
Right.
getting the same stuff, or you make something, or maybe get lucky, or you find something tech wise that
Yeah.
you have that is cool. So I'm gonna get it for them, and maybe they'll like it. Yeah, I don't know. Like it's tough, but then that's kind of where I was at with all this. But let's I don't know. Let's finish up with something fun, man, because
Yeah,
you
man.
had
So as we were talking, I started thinking about we were talking about different baseball stuff and everything, and I remembered two things that I got that I didn't have on the list. And one of them being I said that my mom had gotten me a Nolan Ryan signed baseball. Well, Nolan Ryan was one of my favorite players. And one year I got it was this thing, it's strapped on your door, and it was called Nolan Ryan Strike Zone. And it came with these little stuffed baseballs, and you threw the baseballs at a strike zone. And what it did is it actually had a lineup. And sorry, excuse Lily for shaking around back there. Um, but it came with a little lineup of each team, and it would be two players, and you would have each player had a different like hot zones and cold zones, kind of like in the show now, where you would have to throw at certain parts of the strike zone in order to strike them out. And so that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. Did you ever have anything like that?
you want to hear a funny thing? I had that.
Get out.
I No kidding. I had that.
Okay.
And I have not thought about that in years. But I had it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
crazy.
Yep. Can
So the
remember.
other,
It's funny. Just you saying it. I remember the feel of that stuffed baseball because
yeah,
it was soft, but it was soft. But it was hard at the same time.
right. All right. So then, well, maybe you had this too. So one of the going back to the PBA parties, one of the things I got was it was a starting lineup stadium, and you had teams that were built into it, and it came with a cartridge too. And the cartridge had you could buy different cartridges, and there were two slots for cartridges that had different teams on them. And so you would put these cartridges in, and you'd be able to play against the team that was on it or be the team that was on it. And it actually came with a set of cards that I ended up holding on to the set of cards for longer than I had the stadium. Um, but that was a fun game too, and it was kind of like the Tiger LED baseball, but it actually spoke, like it talked, like it actually did commentary for the entire game.
I didn't. Okay, so I didn't have anything like that. Although, do you recall? I didn't have the one that did the commentary. Um, but I did have this though. Do you remember the All Star Baseball board game?
No.
The name of the company was Cadaco, Cadaco. The players were like, and this goes back many years. I don't know, maybe like the 1960s. I had a late 80s version, but you had like it was a big board game, and it had this thing that you built, kind of like what you just mentioned, except the players you put in on the things, and you it had a little spinner associated with it. So the players like had this yellow disc with numbers associated with different things based on their statistics from the previous year. You put them in the little slot, and then you and your teammate or you and your opponent spun to see what would happen.
Okay. All right.
Um, yeah, this one thing that I know I played the tar out of, I do not have anymore. Um, I would say my edition was probably, oh gosh, 89 was when the version mine was at, because I don't think it was a yearly release. But apparently you can find it on eBay for $100.
All right. All right. So then the last thing I'll put on the table was, I was never really a big Nerf kid when I was younger. Um, I've grown into a Nerf adult apparently because now I have an arsenal. But there were two Nerf products that I had besides footballs. Obviously, everybody had the footballs, the Nerf football, the Nerf Turbo, the whatever the hell the one was with the tail. I forget what that was called. Do you remember that one? It was like the little,
No.
but it had a tail sticking out of it. And
Yeah, I mean, I recall seeing it, but I don't ever remember having anything like that.
see,
So I might.
I had it. I just can't remember what the hell it was called. But we had, but I did have two Nerf products besides that kind of stuff that I thought were really cool. The one, and I can't remember its name, but it was a so Nerf had these guns that were like it was basically a tube. You put a ball in it, and then you pump the handle, and it shot the ball out. And it was like a ping pong sized ball made out of foam. Well, eventually, what they did is they came out with a double blaster, and what it did is two it had two barrels, and when you would push the plunger in, it would shoot a ball out of one of the barrels, and then when you would pull the plunger out, it would shoot a ball out of the other barrel, and you could do that. It had four in each barrel, and you could do that, so eight shots total. And I remember having that and thinking that was super cool. The other thing Nerf that I had was it was Nerf fencing. So do you remember that at all?
Yeah, and here's the thing: like, I saw your note on that, and I want to say that I do, to a point, but then I also remember just like being at some random parties and having foam swords.
Yeah.
So,
So I mean, it was basically what it looked like was so back a couple years prior, there was a Ghostbusters proton pack toy that came out, and it had this long Nerf like yellow beam that came out of the wand. And the best I can figure is they had a ton of them left over, and they didn't know what to do with them, so they made Nerf fencing. So Nerf fencing was you had your foil, and you had around the guard there were four targets that you could push back, and they would flip down. So the goal was obviously to knock down the targets. Well, I that was fun, but it was more fun to just smack people with it. So that's pretty much what I did most of the time.
Dude, that's what I would have done too. I did.
Yeah.
I had very limited Nerf stuff, but I do. I mean, oh, man, I vaguely recall seeing that. And, it's kind of funny how it's developed. But okay, so I want to kind of go back a little bit though. The one thing you talk about with the tube that shot the ball, would that be the precursor to like was it the Nerf Elite stuff they have now?
It was so the Nerf, well, the Elite has the really big darts.
Or
I
what, I'm talking. What's the thing
yeah,
that shoots the balls? What's that called?
you know what? So true story. I literally just got one today. So I had a couple friends over for early Christmas and for Peyton and for them, and they gave me one and Peyton one, and I want to say it's like XPS or something like that. Um, but yeah, it's like a little tiny. It's almost the size of a paintball, and it's a little yellow ball.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
okay.
like a high velocity round for Nerf. But these were, I guess they would be kind of the precursor because they were like bigger, and they didn't have the velocity, and they did not fly very well. Like they were they were almost the antithesis to what we have now.
Gotcha. Okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
but yeah, I mean they were cool at the time, but and I guess there was less risk of putting somebody's eye out with it, but they let's face it, they sucked.
It's funny. We've kind of taken a lot of sidebars here off the Christmas thing, but it's kind of a good going down memory lane. And talking about these the Nerf stuff made me think about this. Dutch Wonderland.
Dutch Wonderland.
I remember buying a toy gun there. It was a plastic 9mm style weapon with like rubber bullets, and you and you would cock it by sliding it, and
Mhm.
it would have a clip of these rubber bullets in the chamber and ready to go every time
Yeah.
every time you cocked it. and it would shoot them. And I always thought, like, man, it was such a cool like toy. But yeah, you probably could pop someone's eye with one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I talk about a place I haven't thought about in years, Dutch Wonderland.
Yeah, that
Nobody
could be a
outside of the nobody outside of the tri-state area has any idea what the hell we're talking about.
no. But I think it's a great thing about doing something like this one is that um we went off on some tangents, but and that's the whole point, right? I mean, the memories that do come and flood back. That it's just funny. Like we'll kind of go back to when this whole episode came out, or started. We kind of say, oh, let's throw down a Christmas one, we'll throw some ideas, whatever. But you know, at the end of the day, you send me a page full of notes like right off the bat, just because your mind was firing. How cool is that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because otherwise, when would you have ever done that?
No, you're right. You're right. I would never have gone back and really, thought about what, all of the cool stuff that I got for Christmas. But, and you wouldn't think like, oh, this stuff stuck with me. That's what people say a lot of times is like, oh, Christmas is this, Christmas is that. Kids never remember. No, dude, I totally remember. Like, yeah, I'm glad my parents were there for me and that this wasn't the only memories I've had of them. But no, I still remember this stuff. It was pretty cool.
Exactly. No, I'm same way, and my thing is I had a real hard time, the minute that I even threw the idea out there, I was like, oh crap, I have a hard time remembering when I got a lot of stuff. And assuredly, a lot of it was probably more or less at Christmas or birthday, but I did have some distinct memories of some really fun Christmas stuff. And um, and that it's a good time of year for it. So
Yeah,
why not, right? And
exactly.
dude, and I think what the next one we're gonna throw down, because we keep talking about it. You sent out an invite, and
We'll see who can make it.
we'll see who can throw down. So we're gonna have a smorgasbord. More, I say that, but man, our smorgasbord episodes generally are, aren't they? Like that. Just you and me.
Yeah, well, we'll see, man. We'll see how it goes. We've thrown out some invites to some people, some past guests, and we're hoping to get them on. And of course, Kara, we've been teasing her since day one, and hopefully this is the chance we get to deliver. So I'm gonna try and reach out to everybody. I sent out a Facebook invite. I'm gonna send out I'm gonna hopefully actually talk to everyone like an actual human instead of being a useless nerd and sending out Facebook invites. But we'll see what comes of it, man. So
Yeah, no, yeah, let's definitely do that, and trying to get as many people as we can that I know you've gone through and invited, and that we'll try to get it all together. And if not, these are certainly folks that we will have on again in the future.
yeah,
So you don't have to just listen to us, just go back and forth, right?
exactly, because we suck. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yep.
likes us,
No.
but that's okay. That's okay. Hollywood might like us.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, right? Hey, shout out to Hollywood for
Yeah,
chiming in, and he texted us, within the last week or so,
yeah.
and was kind of like, hey, I listened to Cryptids episode, and gave us a little shit about listening to 75 minutes of the episode we gave him a shout out on, but
So do
um,
we? So do we do it again? Do I put that in the description for this one?
oh, you
That we
have
gave
to.
Hollywood a shout out, and then
Oh,
maybe
you have to.
yeah.
Yes. Hey, we're just. This is
Is
your second shout out.
is this the new Hey Ewan, meet us at Gino's?
It might be. I mean, it's 2021, so
We need a new one. It's been a while, man. We need a new gig. So
hey, we got to get him back for the whole Sharpie thing.
yeah, that's true. Well, let's
So
not mention that.
no. At this point, he's already figured it out. If he did listen, and he's heard this, so
Yeah.
booyah.
And I think that's a good time to leave it. So until next time, we've been the Noise Brigade. You've been awesome. We will see you next time.